the garden once more after one week break because of Turkey Day, which I dearly missed because my life makes no sense without this podcast. How are you all doing? Tonight we're talking about Padawan DAO, which is one of the most exciting and emergent and interesting initiatives that happened in a while. Because who cares about buying the Constitution? I don't. I'm not American. Um, so, as usual, and very rudely and impolitely, the DAO House ecosystem ignores its guests for about 10 minutes and talks about what's up at the DAO House ecosystem. How are you doing, Deacon? What's going on? Tell
I'm
us.
doing good. I'm excited about our guest today. Um, but yeah, so DAOS, we're just trucking along. Pretty soon we're going to be coming out with our new roadmap, a new constitution, manifesto kind of thing. Um, kind of just starting into this V3. We're wrapping up some of the V2 stuff. The stuff we got coming with V3 is going to be really great. It's going to be super awesome for the ecosystem. And a little side project. So actually, it goes along with Padawan DAO. Is we had this kind of yeeter, is what we called it. It's like a DAO onboarder, basically a way to yeet funds into a multisig. We're building on that to actually build a yeeter that is like doesn't require the multisig custodial control over it. So it'll actually be a DAO but still have the same kind of super easy onboarding experience. So that's kind of a fun thing that should be coming out in the next week or two. And yeah, I don't know, Ben, you got anything?
No, yeah, I mean, in general, it's kind of like, it's coming to the end of the year, so just kind of processing everything that's happened in the house over the year together as a community and kind of, discussing what we want to do in the next year, basically, like towards the V3, like you said. So, all really exciting, and there's been so many cool use cases this year to learn from, to take into our product design and stuff. So, yeah, just really excited for all that stuff.
We just keep absorbing more knowledge from these experiments. Pool House is wrapping up too, so if you're part of that, put out the returns on that. It turned out we beat ETH by about 15%, so that's pretty good. And over USD we're 150% return, so or 115% about. So that turned out really awesome. We're super stoked, and that's going to be rolling into another one. And if you're interested in being a part of our community that's like helping provide liquidity, then that's something to look out for. But I think that's all we got for today. So we can.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys keep creating so much stuff. I'm so grateful for everything the DAO House ecosystem puts out. And let's, with no better segue than this, let's talk to Yaler and Zaji and Zahar and Taivia and Adim and hear more about Padawan DAO. Who wants to take the word first?
Yeah, where did this idea come from, and what does it mean to be a Padawan?
Who of our Padawans wants to lay it down? Y'all were there. I'm just a lonely Jedi out here.
Can get it off started. Essentially, so a Padawan would literally just be any kid interested in crypto that is broke. So like it started off with Rick's movement of kind of sponsoring all of us here to go to Lisbon. And so for that, it was just kind of sending us over ETH and we could fly out by ourselves. Whereas now we're trying to organize it within Padawan DAO to kind of scale that into really like getting as many kids into their first conferences as possible to introduce them to ETH.
Yeah, I mean, when we were sent out there, it was super like last minute. We had to organize our flights and our rooms all within like 24 hours and sort of figure out what we could get into. We didn't have access to the main event and sort of go in by ourselves. And so what we're trying to do is just create a better flow for that. That's safer and can just help more kids.
That's awesome. So it was like an initial initiative by Rick Barton, right? The kind of OG ETH guy, entrepreneur, VC type person. So he just started funding people to go to these events. I think that's pretty awesome. How did he reach out to one of you guys personally, or how did you even get that first part before you guys even started this initiative?
Right. So he just tweeted basically that he's looking for people. I think it was like under 25, don't have a job yet, or trying to get their get their foot in the door, and yeah, just need some help financially. And so I just DM'd him.
Nice, yeah. So it's just kind of like an open call.
Yeah.
That's cool. And where did what are your guys' stories? Like what like where were you at that you wanted to get into crypto and found your way into this kind of path, I suppose? Like what were you doing and looking forward to find that?
Right. So I just graduated from Cal Poly with a software engineering degree, and I was just sort of just gonna start the regular job search and stuff. But my sister Zaji, she's been in the space for some time, and recommended I start the Consensus Bootcamp. And so that started in September, and I actually just finished it up. But yeah, I was just sort of going through that. It starts off kind of broader, talking about blockchain, starts to go deeper into like Ethereum and smart contracts. And so I think I was like about halfway through it, and then yeah, I just saw that tweet. Was like, wow, I mean, just to get out to Lisbon would be awesome, and DM'd him, and then yeah, Zaji sort of connected me with Taylor and Peter and just some of her friends out there. And my first event, like I think 2 hours after I landed, was just going to the Meta Cartel event, and I hadn't even gotten to like the DAO section. Like I wasn't even sure what those were, and so it was just really cool to just have met all these people
Right.
just in person and
You guys
figure
didn't
it
have
out.
tickets. Yeah, you guys didn't have tickets, so you were for the ETH Lisbon event, so you're just kind of like doing the side events and things.
Right, yeah. I think Zaji got me like just some quick tickets on like Eventbrite for some of these events, and
Hmm.
then the meeting people there led to me getting into some really cool events. I had a lot of fun.
That's awesome that you guys are siblings, and Saji's uh, big in the DAO space with Gamma Delta and a lot of other places.
Yeah, I crypto pilled him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so actually, Saji, maybe what about from your experience? So are you acting as like a Jedi then, or maybe what are those roles? What are they? What does it mean for people who aren't Star Wars nerds?
Yeah, Yaler and I are the first Jedis, I believe. We didn't want to like put ourselves onto the Tao as Jedi, so we actually told the Padawans that it would be cool if they could open up an application system for that. So if you're not familiar with what a Jedi is within the Padawan Tao, it's essentially coming in as an advisor or a mentor. Hopefully somebody who already has some experience in the DAO space and or the crypto blockchain space. And so we applied. There's more applications in process right now for other Jedis that have applied. And basically the Padawans have to just vote for us to accept us. So that's a really cool way for them to have their own governance and decide who they want leading them and mentoring them as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. So the Jedi's do get you do get to join the DAO as well.
That has not been
I don't think
that has
so.
not been configured. No, I've
Okay.
actually been strongly advocating that old people don't get to join this DAO, but
Yeah, I
the
like that.
Padawans the Padawans can decide to reverse that if they choose. We have a filtration system right now where it's in the Padawan Discord. It said Jedi applications, and you put in a little blurb about yourself, you like what you want to do, and then kind of like tweet out your public request. And actually, we're just starting to, the DAO is just starting to accept the request right now. So it's like you need to get 5 Padawan P emojis in order to be passed into become an official Jedi. So the people who are in are myself, Zaji, I think Hamad, MetaDreamer made it. Let's see who else. Disruption Joe from Gitcoin made it. And Wilmot made it from Metagamma Delta. And then a couple other folks, Travis Weiss just made it as well. So yeah, pretty cool. But like, yeah, the idea is Joshua 0x Joshua made it. So yeah, a really good crew of people. But Zaji, who I give full credit for this, was like, should we like let them decide who they want to be on the council? And I was like, Of course, like that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, totally.
So we hope to be helpful, supportive mentors, advisors, not like pushers of things, right? Like we just want to see the Padawans create value where they want to create value and develop themselves in whatever ecosystem they want to. Obviously, we're focused on Ethereum right now and all Ethereum related things because that's where all the funding came from, the Ethereum community. So if people are like, hey, are you sending Padawans to Solana events or Near events or Bitcoin events? It's like, not really, unless they strongly decide to pivot into that realm. But I think there's an openness right now that is still a part of the formation process of what the DAO wants to do, where it wants to go, and what initiatives it wants to push forward. So right now we're focusing on ETH Denver, getting 100 Padawans to ETH Denver as part of this, and we're collaborating with the Blockchain Education Network, which has been a super helpful partner so far in getting all the visas arranged and travel and Airbnb and having hosts actually on site. So yeah, great partnership.
So it went from knee-jerk reaction to full-scale organized intergenerational exchange in a second.
It kind of had to, right? Like I met Czarface in Lisbon only because Zaji, who's a dear friend, was like, hey, Rick Burton's sending my brother to Lisbon. Look out for him. Make sure he doesn't get in any trouble.
I was like slightly worried,
And I respect that. So like now I'm in a special Telegram group called Reyes Familia. So I was like, oh, I've been indoctrinated into the Reyes family. Like, okay, cool. I better level up. So anyway, but I met him at Lisbon, and I was like, all right, cool. What a cool guy. So we hung out. We did some meals and did some late night stuff as well with the Meta Cartel, and those things are always fun. But it was like someone asked me to help look out for a family member of theirs. Like I'm like, okay, that's serious. And then what I realized is like, wait, all the Padawans need someone to look out for them. And I was like, okay, so Papa Yaler, like full effect, like, how can I help these guys and girls, some are girls, women, find their way into the space, get organized. And that's where I think the organization of the group started to form. Now they're super self-organized. I think the thing that the Jedis bring to the table is voices of reason and DAO operational expertise. So like knowing how to help spin up a DAO, how to talk about governance shares, how to deploy DAO tooling infrastructure, and how to think about it, and then how to communicate with one another, which we all know can be such a challenge in a digital first space where it's like words, and then you're like, yeah, but like, how do you feel about what we're doing here? It's like more words. So that has been the process, and I think we're getting to a really good place. It's great to see people just jumping in, getting involved, and taking their little working groups and just going off. To start, we have how many working groups do we have now, Alim?
I think we're just reaching 5, maybe.
5 working groups. They've got do you want to talk a little bit about the working groups and their kind of initiatives? Maybe Tavia can jump in as well and talk about the social working group.
Yeah, for sure. So Tavia is in charge of social. I'm really just kind of taking over technical right now, but essentially, we have to kind of get started with actually making all the tools for our DAO. And so it's essentially just a bunch of subsects of the community kind of working on how can we really elevate this DAO into what it can be. So like for Twitter, for example, we got to actually make posts. And so we have the social work group to kind of formulate how we want to create strategies for social media. The technical work groups right now working on a upgraded Yeeter. I think the code base is a bit messy for like me to personally work with, and so we're trying to recreate it, and so we can display like ERC20 tokens, create an easier way to donate, and just make all the experience a bit more seamless.
And Tavia, you also hosted a pretty cool Twitter Spaces yesterday, right?
Yeah, so we're trying to grow like our presence on social media. So we're doing Medium articles that are coming out as soon as like this week, and we're hosting like a weekly Twitter Spaces, basically kind of getting like mentors for the Padawans and like inspiring Padawans and et cetera, stuff like that.
I feel like we also have a pretty good like page already. I kind of looked at the docs, the Git book we've made, or the technical team really put a lot of work into it. And yeah, it's coming together. There's a lot of links and just sort of story and key terms, jive, paddle, and all that stuff.
I think it's a cool story, and it reminds me of some of the stories of how a lot of even us got into the space. This community is so inviting to new people, and try to help out, like even some of the big like founders and builders in the space, like Alex Majmage, I think was maybe one of the first kind of like I think Peter or the first early Meta Cartel paid for him to come out to ETH Denver, and from then now it's like he's this NFT champion. He's got Showtime. He's got all these things going on. He's doing these huge races with people, and so I mean it doesn't take long once you get into the space and just to get involved and bring in your skills. I mean, the other really cool thing about something like this is it injects kind of more diversity into our space in general, right? So it's not only like the Padawans learning from us boomers, it's like what can we learn from them as they're coming in with this fresh perspective. So I think it's such a cool thing.
Exactly. I met 3 of them here in Lisbon, and 2 of them I had a chance to talk like for a long time, because they were at the Rava, and I was a bit like, oh shit, they're 16, they're at Rava. Let me understand this. I was talking to them, and the first thing I noticed is in conversation I didn't feel an age difference, which threw me at a large reflection of what it means to be like 16, 17 today. In comparison to growing up when I was like, I'm 35 now, right? I feel that there's more for us to learn. There's more updating for us to do, and all that we're giving them actually is access.
Yeah, your knowledge of the Dewey Decimal System isn't as important anymore.
I wonder, like, I feel the same way, like, to what Philippe is saying. Like, I work with Aleem, I work with Zarface, the Wu brothers, and Tavia. And, like, I really, I'm 34, but I don't feel like there's any disconnect between our way of doing things, just maybe more operational experience. But it's like the communication that I have with a 16, I think. Aleem, are you 16, 17?
Just turned 16, yeah.
Just turned 16.
Yeah.
So it's quite amazing that I can find myself like in a Discord with 16-year-olds and be like, this is fine. Like, either that says something really amazing about them or something really bad about me.
Yeah, and
Well,
we even
yeah.
had. Sorry, I was just gonna say real fast. We even had like a session with Gitcoin Joe, kind of discussing the mission of the DAO and whatnot. And I was so impressed by each DAO member. They were efficiently sharing their visions, their goals. It's just like, yeah, like you're all saying, you really don't feel like it's any different than working with anyone else in the DAO space.
The only funny part was when it's like, my mom's calling me for dinner. I gotta go, guys.
That's my bad.
I had this problem with one of the co-founders of DAOstack, who was like 30 something, but he was from an Orthodox Jewish family, and he was like, my mom's calling me for dinner. I can't be at the call anymore. And that happens with older people as well. And also with all the anons that we have, we might have actually co-produced things with a lot of 16-year-olds unaware over the last few years. And just to bring up like another similar story, but from the beginning of the 20th century, Joseph Kosuth, which was one considered the founder of conceptual art, his like crowning piece he produced when he was 16. He sent it to the MoMA, it got accepted, it was shown, etc. And he was anon because he didn't want anybody to see. He became one of the most successful and first conceptual artists in the world, and he only came out of hiding when he was 21, to the shock of everybody. And he consistently produced great shit throughout his entire life. So not a recent phenomenon.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anons that are joining, or like how do you deal with that on the logistics side? How do you like vet new Padawans? Is it all people that you know, or is it just kind of random people applying, or how's that working?
For actual sponsorships, anyone can apply, but like we do require them to dox like themselves. I think Rick had the same policy, just like obviously trusting people with that much money to go to a foreign country without like having any information on them when it's crypto can be a bit scary. But to actually contribute to the DAO, of course, like you can be completely anonymous.
That's what I was going to say. The workaround there is contribute value to the DAO, earn yourself some shares or some budget, and then pay for your own trip to the event. So
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, yeah. Let's. Oh, go ahead, Deacon.
oh no, if you had something, I was just going to kind of ask about how it's going.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, so you guys have started a fundraise.
And that was your first crypto event, right? For all of you.
Yeah, so Lisbon was my first, I know. And then like from Padawan's perspective, we've already started funding. We just sent, I think a couple kids are still in Miami, and so right now our next mission is ETH Denver, but really just trying to get as many crypto events as possible in.
And how's the fundraising been going? Last time I looked, you guys were like over 20 ETH or something.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
right
we have like
80 now?
over 75
73?
now. Over
Yeah,
76.
73.
yeah,
In
we're
the
close
course
to
of this
half a
podcast, we're
million.
gonna get to 100.
Yeah, let's take it to, well, we need to get 327 to make it, official meme numbers. But yeah, 76.2 today, which just keeps growing. The things keep going in. But yeah, probably big shout out to Yaniv and Ava Balin, who just like yeeted in massive amounts of funds in support of this.
Oh, bananas.
For sure, not to mention the USDC and ENS that we graciously got from Rick and a couple other organizations.
Oh yeah, people just started sending all their ENS airdrops, which was awesome to see. That's the funny thing is actually we can't even see the total amount of funds because the Yeeter only shows ETH balance. We need like all the ERC20s.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, you can look at it's just a safe, so you could look at that, but that's cool. So you guys are just gonna like keep raising until you have $1 billion, or?
I mean, we'd never shut it down, man. I think
did
we're
you
already
put the sorry? Did you put the finger to your mouth as like $1 billion?
But yeah, definitely like have the funds for what we want to do, right? But we've just been having calls with Denver, and yeah, the people at Ben, and so yeah, looking good. Just sort of gonna figure out those logistics next couple months.
And just to be clear, we're not focused on the raise at all. Like there's literally just a static web page. Operations of the DAO and getting people to the next event are what the focus of the group is on right now, and the working group's forming around accomplishing those missions.
What are the logistics then going forward? Like what? It sounded like you guys were gonna do something on XDAI maybe to make it a little more usable.
I think that's part of our next steps, like kind of a treasury diversification proposal to get some solid stablecoin budget on XDAI. We have kind of identified the partnership opportunity with Ethereum Denver. We'll be sending those people out there, and we did a back of the napkin calculation, about $130,000 to get all the Padawans and flights and food and transportation and Airbnbs, boarding. Yeah, exactly, to do everything and with support from ETH Denver as well. So we'll probably put that amount up for distribution, and we'll put that into a safe on XDAI controlled by the DAO, because the DAO is already spun up. That's actually something we would be interested to talk to you guys about, is like, where do you see an interesting governance flow for new members coming in? We have like the first round of members, which is like the Lisbon Padawans, but we also have these New York Padawans, and then we'll have Denver Padawans as well, and maybe Miami Padawans now. So it's like, how do you guys think about this, like creating tiered membership levels for members who are in different cohorts coming in at different times?
Yeah, so it sounds interesting because you have this really large pot of funds, but it's not necessarily anyone's funds that they attributed in, right? These are all members that have joined
Yeah,
the application
the
process. So rage quit in that case doesn't necessarily make sense there because you wouldn't want a
yeah, just
Padawan
to
with.
be clear, the funds are in a mainnet treasury that is controlled by funders, not controlled by the Padawans. They can propose votes and we execute them for them, just because that's how it was set up. And I think that's actually like kind of smart, right? It's like you have a bit of oversight as to the funders' funds. And
Yeah.
if the DAO decides they like where they want to take control of those funds, then we work that out together between the Padawans and the Jedi advisor folks. But for now, it's just sitting in a mainnet safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things you could do. Like if you did move it over, if those funds that you moved to XDAI, you could have the Jedis as like shareholders on it. You could like even set up a kind of reputation token, maybe for the Padawans, like another token that the DAO issues out to people for
Contributing to
doing
Padawans.
something cool, and then they could tribute that token in to maybe like stake some skin in the game, even though the token, is not really meant to have value. I don't know. Yeah, there could be a lot of fun things you could do on XDAI with it being cheap.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you guys, these work streams are popping up, so are you using some of the funds I kind of hope to pay yourselves to, do the work that the community needs? Or is it, or the funds kind of like earmarked only for sending people around?
I think it's an open discussion right now. To my knowledge, no one has been paid, and the Padawans, for the most part, have said, we want to just do the work. We're not interested in getting a strong payment right now for this, other than share value. But the Meta Cartel specifically earmarked a $20,000 grant for people who are helping build Padawan infrastructure. So there's the dash. Yeah, we've already paid 5K into the DAO, and now this DAO, the Padawan DAO, needs to figure out how they want to spend that. Whether they can choose to use that for more just giving away to people who are going to events, or they can pay themselves. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable for anybody to give themselves a reasonable budget for spending time developing something, especially if it's like useful to the community.
They also just started implementing, or they're starting to work on implementing Govern over there from Aaron Soskin's group. And so that will help be able to retroactively track work as well as, track future engagement work as well. So that could be used if there was ever a distribution model needed.
Yeah, that's great.
The outcome-based stuff from Govern?
No, they've got a new pivot, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I should send you the deck. They've pivoted hard into like coordinate like Metacred style, but more of a base layer. But
I was going to say it's called a movement model, and you can basically track all of your work through a bot. MGD started using it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds super cool.
That sounds like a future episode.
Yep. Just thinking that we had Aaron on it last year. He's awesome. He's like in the governance side of things. He's like on the politician kind of actual government side of having super knowledge, and so what he's bringing to the space is great because it's not just a bunch of DAO nerds like trying everything from scratch again.
Yeah, he brings a knowledge from both sides that is super valuable, but it's been cool to see him pivot hard into the DAO space. So they're no longer pursuing traditional stodgy political organizations. They're going to make their headway in DAOs and then move from success in DAOs to success in politics, hopefully.
Cool. So what are like kind of the longer term goals of Padawan? Have you guys even had a chance to sit down and think about your mission or like your roadmap or anything like that? Is it kind of just like stick to getting new people to conferences and making introductions and building kind of the network effect, or do you guys have any like missions brewing coming out of these work streams and things like that.
Yeah, I think for now, like the main thing is kind of just continuing sending kids to conferences, even if it's like a very long-term mission of just continuously doing it. One thing I did propose a while back was actually like having almost a grants dashboard in which you have all previous Padawans almost on a vetted platform that we have, and then they can fund projects that they're working on. So like let's say Tavia was working on a new startup, she could have a profile on the dashboard in which she could request funding for almost a vetted platform. But again, like it's still like super early in the DAO stage, so to be doing something like that would be a huge distraction from ETH Denver and kind of getting people to conferences.
That's a cool
Yeah.
idea, though. So kind of like, so along with helping people kind of get into the space and travel around and get their foot in the door, so to speak, as what, so then kind of like graduating into like also providing or helping to provide for their next step in their path, right? Which is
Yeah,
like
for sure.
maybe give them a grant on a project they're working on or something like that. That's a really great idea.
Yeah. I think it could
Uh,
even be like a third party kind of thing. I know VitaDAO is now doing a Padawan style grant system for longevity Padawans. So I do think it could be cool, just maybe as a more long term solution.
yeah, that's
We
pretty
should
cool.
call them the immortals.
For sure.
Another
Yeah. Oh.
another cool thing I see could be like partnerships. Raid Guild's actually working on something similar to what you guys are just talking about, called Dungeon Master. But like partnerships with some of the larger kind of professional service DAOs and product DAOs, and almost working like paid internship kind of things, like setting up a Padawan, after they do their first conference, they've shown what their interest is in or whatever their skills are, and getting them kind of positioned into a place where they can like really get their foot in the door through, potentially sponsorships and partnerships and things like that. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, and I know that part of the first official proposal, like on Metacardinal, like the forum. Yeah, like we were talking about graduating these Padawans. Yeah, if that sort of funding project they're doing, or them getting an internship somewhere or something like that, and kind of creating these cohorts that sort of graduate into Jedi's, I guess.
Yeah, but even more, I liked what Tavia said about it not only being about employability or getting a position somewhere, but actually starting your own things from your own actual needs and having this little self-sovereign conspiracy of younger people. And you can also produce knowledge that can be super useful for everybody else. The questions I had too. One, I'm too lame to understand the meme number, the 327. Can somebody explain it to me? Second, how do you guys decide who else gets to take part? Like, who are the next kids? Is it just your friends, or are you guys thinking about like a selection, a transparent, consistent selection mechanics?
I'll talk about the meme number. That was entirely my idea. 327 is a really, really well-known number all throughout all Star Wars movies. Like there are hundreds and hundreds of things named 327. I think it's very important to George Lucas, basically. So yeah, go check that out. We needed a number that was
I mean, for sure. As a non-Star Wars nerd, I was like in such disagreements. We had a goal of 2 ETH originally, so I think might be better that we followed Yaler's lead on that one.
I was like, if we're going, let's go hard. Everyone's like, why 327? And I was like, why anything less? And they're like, oh, I guess. Because there's no failure, right? Like you don't get your money back if we don't reach the goal. It's like one-way funnel. So
And it may not be as hard to accomplish as you think. It's already halfway there almost.
Yeah, for sure. We're making good progress. Anyway, yeah, super mean number. Also, 327 is a perfect quotient number, if that means anything to you math nerds. And then I'll let someone else answer the second question.
Yeah, the painter that doesn't watch Star Wars is just like, yeah, all right. I'm like trying to get it. But I love the ambition, and I love that it's denominated in ETH. So this is important.
So
I think you need to repeat. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I think your question earlier was in regards to the application. Right now, we're like working on like a I guess a transparent application process. We do have some like criteria that we're working on. But I think we're discussing in the possibility of the future kind of getting like a team together to kind of handle that specifically.
Yeah, it's cool. Always good to have people focused
Yeah.
on onboarding and contributor experience.
That's what gets me super excited about this experiment. Besides the obvious fact that all the things we already mentioned, it's the process, the political process of self-definition and finding what it means to be a Padawan, right? Going beyond the knee-jerk meme, which is obviously cool, and watching it cluster into like a meaningful social process. Not to bring the pressure, but that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, totally. It'll be cool to see what criteria you guys do build up together as a community. Um, Also, yeah, just really want to hear like a little bit more about your guys' experience. This your first crypto conference. You clearly had some interest in crypto before, and then you go to this conference and you meet all these like real life people who are doing this stuff. And I know for a lot of people who, in the space for a while and then they don't go to these kind of conferences and meet people in real life. So I don't know. That's one experience I'd like to hear from you guys. Like, what was that like for you guys? Meeting these people and kind of interacting with, crypto culture IRL. These are real humans. It's kind of a yeah, a thing that you
Well,
learn, I guess, along
I
the
guess
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
go
guess
for
I
it.
can go first, I guess. I'm more so like a non-technical standpoint, and I kind of discovered this space about a year ago. For me, I didn't really know it. I didn't know anyone at all in Lisbon, or it was kind of like a different like experience. But going to parties, I met a whole bunch of people who were beyond nice, and was just like kind of introducing me to other people who were probably hiring for a role that I was looking for. So I met like a whole bunch of amazing people.
That's
Yeah,
great.
it was definitely just refreshing to get to the country and do all that again because I hadn't been to Europe since COVID started, and like yeah, I don't know. I mean, just to go out there and just be able to network, like I said, I was just doing that boot camp, kind of learning about it. He's been
Hmm.
telling me about blockchain all these years, and it's sort of until you can see how enthusiastic people are and just talking to people, just listening. It's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. What about you guys are also like interacting with DAOs for the first time? What kind of like what are your opinions so far about like DAOs, and is there anything exciting about that, or concerns you might have about what DAOs mean as forms of organizations and things, or what's kind of been your experience around that so far?
They're absolutely fire, man. I think my favorite one has to be Vita DAO. Their whole mission is just absolutely sick. Where I'm like most excited is they're kind of trying to fund longevity research, and I think if a DAO had ownership of IP, like that could completely change the way we fund research. Specifically, like if you look at the discovery of insulin, it's a huge thing, especially in Canada. But the researcher sold it for $1, but then it got completely abused and is now like overpriced in the States. What if a DAO was able to control the price of that IP? Like I think that's a super democratized way of doing everything. The only like one concern I had literally just a couple days ago after a show, I'm like randomly thinking, what if a meme like completely took over a DAO? Of course it'd be super unlikely, but I feel like if it's something funny enough, we could get a 51% attack on real humans. But yeah, man, I love Vita DAO in specific.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
must confess that when you said it's absolutely fire with absolute enthusiasm, I was eating a little piece of chocolate and I choked and I lolled, and now there's chocolate all over my screen. That was great.
Lol.
The IP thing is interesting, but and there's also, I mean, this space is, it's very much about open source and like kind of open data, which may be more of a root of the problem than even IP, but that's my own opinion. Um, so I think it's just like an interesting way that like for people to get involved in the space. We all have a different story, right? That how we got involved, and a lot of it usually goes with someone who helped us and took like got us over that first hump, got us into
Thanks, Deacon.
this kind of subculture. It's like it's not easy to get in to the space because the technology is complicated, the paradigm is shifted. There's like all these barriers and hurdles, which I think is really good actually, and so I think this is the right way to bring people in. We get sometimes in the space we get like this push to go mainstream all the time, like we need to be mainstream, like we need to bring as many people and onboard as many people as possible, but really that's not right. We don't want, in my opinion, we don't want mainstream to come in because they're gonna fuck it up.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but Elon Musk's brother is making a environmental DAO, so it's all over, bro.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
doing it because they have to. They have to learn about this new thing that's happening. They make concessions to us, not the other way around, right? So we need to continue doing that, and we need to continue to keep Ethereum weird.
I will piggyback on what Deacon's saying because I do think that there's a really strong value for self-selection here. Like people keep saying, "Oh, we need to, go to the masses and bring this to them." I think people find this when they're ready, and not everyone is ready for this kind of way of operating, this way of looking at things, this fundamental change in like cooperation and collaboration. Like a lot of people are still looking at this thing as like okay, crypto, how do I make money from this? And you're like, people who are in that state of mind are not going to add much at the moment, right? Like they need to do the research and find out and get red pilled into finding out more than just making money in this ecosystem. And
Creating value. Yeah.
exactly, and redefining what their value is. Because if you're just like, how can I get as much tokens that I then turn into dollars, you're missing the whole point of what we're doing, what we're building here.
Weirdo.
Can have like a minute of silence with that statement. But
Word. So Yaler, actually, how did you get into the space? Because I remember you just kind of showed up at the when.
It was his beard. His beard was attracted to cryptography.
It was more the reverse, actually. Like people were so attracted to my beard that they let me in their DAO for some reason. So yeah, 2017, I had no clue about DAOs or Ethereum or even really how to use email. I was not a technology person, and a friend of a roommate who happened to be that friend was Griff Green. He showed up at my house and was super weird and like wore funny clothes, and I was like, who is this guy? Like he's like talking about all these things I have no idea about, and he just like kind of like started to red pill me into crypto and was like, yeah, you got to check these new paradigms out. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, a new way of like organizing. So I started like reading their stuff. And then he offered to let me stay in his hacker house in Barcelona, which meant nothing to me other than I was like, Barcelona, that sounds great. Like you really have a place in Barcelona. So I made him send me pictures and everything to prove that it was real. And like literally a week later, I sold all of my belongings in Seattle, which wasn't that much, and then put my bike on a plane and went to Spain. And I was like, worst case, I can do some nice cycling in Spain and like crash in this guy's house. Best case, maybe I figure out a new career path. And that was the beginning, 2017, that first year, just sitting next to actually really cool Spanish, Catalan, independence kind of minded folks who are building technology for like helping the region secede from the rest of the country, which is TBD if that's going to actually happen, but they've been in that fight for a long time. But awesome people, great minds. And I was just really affected by the community, like the way they think about things, the technical challenges they were overcoming. And then like, I think maybe a year and a half later, after having huge burnout and working on way too many projects, idea what was happening, I moved to Hawaii, and a article came across my news feed on Twitter called Metagame, and Metagame led me to Metacartel, and I have not left Metacartel since. Gone in many different directions, but obviously Metacartel is the YC Combinator mind share of DAOs. It's the hub of so many things to me. So many of you great people where I met you all. So I'm here. That's how.
That's amazing. I didn't know any of that. Thank you.
He's an octopus.
An octopus, yeah, OG. It reminds me of something that James Waugh said at my first ETH Denver. And actually, ETH Denver, Deacon, where I think you were 2020, was the first time I met any of the Metacartel members in person. And actually, I was really nervous because I was like, oh my God, these guys are super smart. And they're really cool. They're in the cartel. They're going to think I'm an idiot. And everyone was generally. But James was standing up on stage. I was sitting right behind Vitalik. There was only like 5 people listening.
Oh,
Vitalik was
I
one of
remember
them.
that. Yeah.
I
Okay.
I have a photo from that ETH Denver, and James is standing up there, guys, and he's like, look, it's not about people trying to fight for. We're all in the kitchen. Everyone's trying to fight for a bigger slice of pie. He's like, we need more flour. We need people making more flour. He's like, so stop fighting over the pie and expand the base principle. And I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Like, we need to go more. We need to bring more people in. We need more bakers and more flour, not more pie takers, basically.
Yeah.
And
If the book was called The Infinite Pie, though, it wouldn't be
infinite pie.
Yeah.
Pies all the way down.
Pies all the way down.
Yeah. So that's what I see. I see human capital as flour. Like these folks coming in through Padawan DAO, they're flour. Like we can make whatever we want together, and they're going to create value. And our whole bakery is going to be worth more because we have more bakers and more resources to bake more cool shit with.
Yeah, but here's my assumption that I don't know if it's correct. That for them, because they're younger and they haven't been through the meat grinder, dream crushing, legacy, make a living kind of a system yet, it should prove easier for them to just like plug into if the amount of unlearning that they have to do is smaller. It's just full potential. Like I had to unlearn so much stuff.
Dude, 100%. I see it in the same way. Like they're starting off 10x ahead of where we were because we don't need to unlearn we have to unlearn bad habits that they don't even have yet.
Yeah, were you guys like?
Okay. I was looking
not
for my mic.
Were you
Because
guys
we're,
like
we're
not
at the last
listening
5 minutes
Oh yeah.
or something, and I wanted to listen from them. Like, you guys had this experience, you met a bunch of people, you probably saw, at least intuitionally, different energy trends or pathways of interest in incentives flying around. What do you guys want to tell the old, I was going to curse, what you guys want to tell the old farts about what you saw and what you think should be different or something like that? It's okay to take a minute.
I mean, I feel like for me, the whole experience was just so new. Like I think it was because I was just hanging out with like OGs, like into like Stan or just hanging out even with like Austin and like not realizing that people are like so awesome and just like so smart and so I don't know. I mean, I feel like just it was so new to me. I just thought everything was awesome, but kind of like now reflecting on it, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to be.
Yeah, like Zach came back and he's like, yo, I was hanging out with like Stani from Ave and like Austin Griffith and all these people, and like that's not like a casual first experience at a conference, but I think that's what's so cool about Padawan DAO is they're going to be connected to all these people from the start, and so they're going to get really awesome experiences day one.
Yeah, the power in numbers.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I would
Some
say
more
that
young voice.
yeah, I would say that I feel like millennials, or because I feel like I'm like one of the youngest or the oldest of the millennials right now. Millennials and Gen Z are pretty much going to be the future when it comes to like technology in this space. So I feel like the more that we do to like onboard and like kind of break down these barriers to kind of get these people more activated is going to be better for us in the long run.
I'm just really happy this is happening and how it happened, because it was sort of when I first heard about that, I was very much into the philanthropy or sort of the helped controlling the help kind of mechanics that DAOs make possible, and this is a very real one that's taking shape. So I feel very privileged to be watching and to have met you guys today, and I hope you guys do a fantastic job of like telling the stories as they happen. Like maybe have a communication work group that is very transparent and very vulnerable, that can inspire. Because the same way, DAOs were a bad word when I started DAOing, that 3.5 something 4 years ago. Like you would go to conferences and tell people like, yeah, DAO this, DAO that, and they're like, I'm not gonna touch DAOs with a 10-foot pole. Now 4 years later, you have all these entire massive protocols going like, yo, no, we're gonna just DAO this, right? And I think the capacity to give as DAOs is the next trend that you guys represent. You know?
Yeah, the other awesome thing about this is that, like the whole unlearning thing that you guys have talked about, but really we haven't even figured it out yet. Like for the DAO stuff, like there's no experts. So that's the only thing. My word of advice for you guys is just be careful of the people who come in and say that they know what's going on. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that are saying like they know how things work because they worked in Web 2 for so long or whatever. But everything's new. So really, we should be experimenting as much as possible and trying new things as much as possible because, and that's really what you guys can bring is like if you have an idea, try it. I mean, there's no reason to like, be held back by the old folk, the old fogies.
Yeah. Live your own experiments, and throughout the network of people that you've connected with here, you can get whatever you need: resources, team, advisory, capital. Like it's all right here. It's very easy. I'm actually super surprised how under applied so many of our grant funding applications are. Like every org I work with has a grant pipeline, and it hardly ever gets used.
I know over at MGD, we always say, please take our money. So I'm just super excited to see some young women in the space joining and hopefully funneling into those types of grant and work streams as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to say like while you guys are doing anything, like, yeah, we have your back. So if you guys ever need any support at all, feel free to hop in. On the technical side there, Aleem, sound like you were talking, working through some of the Yeeter stuff, for example. Anything at all, like, don't hesitate to come over and bug us. We got you.
Yeah, and speaking of,
That's awesome.
as we're
Thanks,
working
guys.
on this new thing, I may hit you up to get some feedback. Just since you guys are going through this process of raising and stuff. But yeah, cool. Did we have a POAP or something like that?
Yes. There is
Oh,
a
glad you asked.
Yeah, totally. There is a new process because Discord changed their system so the bot can't DM you anymore. So after the house party live, I'll drop a note in the house party chat channel to where you can claim your POAP, but you'll have to like put in a little command to claim it.
Awesome. Well, we're coming up to the end of the hour. Do we got anyone have any final thoughts or anything they
You
want
guys-
to throw out
Do
there?
you guys have any calls to action? Padawans to come reach out to you guys, or Jedi's to apply? Like, what do you guys want from the
Yeah, how do I
community?
become a Jedi?
Yeah, I mean,
And
right now the
money
process is pretty
through
very.
multi-sig.
Oops.
In terms of becoming a Jedi, you just have to visit us and join our Discord, and we have a channel called Jedi Applications where
I
you
think
can.
we're losing Zach. I don't know if you guys can hear him very well.
Little Robo.
A little robo. Okay, I'll just do it really quick. So head over to the Discord. I'll put a link in the house party chat. There's a channel called Jedi Applications. You just make a little post there of your intent to contribute. We have just started accepting this first wave, basically, of Jedis, and by we I mean that Pat are accepting them. So yeah, talk about your experience and what you hope to do, and then you'll hopefully get the upvotes. It super helps if you make connections with people inside the group, or just start doing something, right? You're like, hey, I want to help. Like Deacon, I think you've already done some work helping deploy the DAO. So like that works, helps towards making things happen. So don't wait. That would be my suggestion, is just find out where you can start helping the Padawans accomplish their missions. And then, yeah, we'll set up a Jedi Council call like once every 2 weeks or something like that. Zaji and I are working on a date. It's the holidays though, so a lot of things in motion. But yeah, we'll have a twice a month call and just start to ping ideas back and forth. Bring as much of our experience to the Padawans as possible to help them accomplish their mission with this DAO.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys in ETH Denver. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah,
so
I would say
much.
that's the biggest call to action is any Padawans who are interested in attending, jump into Discord and apply to ETH Denver first, and then apply to the Padawans. We have a Airtable form you can fill out for a full ride scholarship to ETH Denver.
And I'll let you know, 100 of them coming together is going to put a dent on the social experience for everyone. It's going to be awesome.
For sure. We need like
Thanks,
Stormtrooper
everybody.
shirts.
And for those wanting your POAPs, I just dropped the instructions in the house party chat channel. So all you have to do is type /POAP claim, and you should get your POAP. If not, you just have to DM me and I'll work it out for you. Thanks all. Thanks for coming. Party on.
Later.
Party on.
Denver.
And that was tonight's garden. See you around.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.